Japan has some of the strangest game shows ever created. Like this one, that goes viral every 2 years, where comedians and celebrities have to guess what's candy and what isn't. But it definitely gets weirder than this. Like if we look at the absurdity of the Grasshopper Scooter Championship Finals. These types of weird game shows that you might see in clips from your shorts feed are actually recurring segments on variety TV programs like Gaki no Tsukai, Siobi no Downtown, and Hanae no Tobira. Unlike something like Takeshi's Castle, which I'm sure you're familiar with, that is its own show. The Grasshopper one is specifically funny to me. The show is called Giri-Giri-ssu, and the players dress up as these grasshopper characters to compete in different challenges, not just the scooter one. Like where they see who can throw a door the furthest, or who can carry the most stacked plates from one table to another without dropping them. What's specifically funny to me is how serious they make it seem while dressed up in ridiculous outfits. You'd think they'd been training their whole lives the way they react to finishing a game. Failure to complete a challenge is usually met with a punishment, where this character called Spider Lady eats something that makes her breath stinky, like garlic, before blowing her hot breath on the loser. It's pretty funny, but also disgusting. At the very least, this alone would motivate me into not wanting to lose. We're going to discuss a handful of weird Japanese game shows today, and I want you to imagine that you'll receive 10 grand for completing one of them. I want you to pay attention while watching, and tell me in the comments at the end which game show you would play on in order to win the money. I look forward to seeing which game show you would choose, because I know exactly which one I won't be choosing, and I think you'll know which one when I get to it. So yeah, 10k to beat one of these shows. Imagine you'd have to survive a full episode, so let me know at the end what you think. Anyway, this Scooter Grasshopper show even got a Wii game, which is really funny to me. If there's one thing I miss, it's shitty Wii game spin-offs of popular shows, but because I had a Wii game, you probably realized that this is a show from the early 2000s, and Hanae no Tobira, the show this segment is from, stopped airing after a nice runtime of 2001 to 2012. But as weird as this show was, as I said at the start, it can always get weirder. This is called Close-Up of Sleeping Faces. Girls are to lie down and pretend to sleep until the hosts come over and inspect them. Eventually, the host will ask them to wake up cutely, and if they aren't cute enough, they're slapped in the face with a pie. The whole vibe is sorta creepy, to be honest. It just really feels sorta odd. The hosts seem to push it sometimes, and the whole thing is overly sexualized. It really is more creepy than funny, which makes you wonder about the show this is from. This is AKBingo. Another variety show, this time featuring an idol group, AKB48, which has over 600 episodes of them doing, well, I guess a variety of things. One of the most famous clips is this roach battle, where they have to blow down this tube in order to make the other person swallow the roach. This is just straight up like medieval torture stuff. I don't even know. The show can be pretty lighthearted and cute at times, and it seems to be pretty popular considering it has over 600 episodes. But from time to time, they really like to push it. With public backlash and broader criticisms of how the show seems to exploit its young idols with over-sexualized content, a lot of the critics argue it promoted sex appeal in a creepy way, and I gotta agree, I kinda see it. I kinda clicked through the 600 episodes at random, and every single time I came up with something that was a little weird. There is specifically a part in one episode that sort of moved me in two ways. One is it definitely disturbed me, but the other is it made me feel a little impressed. Ohori Megumi was the oldest member of the group and also the least popular. So, in an effort to force her out of the group, the management came up with a ridiculous condition for her new solo. If she doesn't make 10,000 sales, they're gonna force her to graduate, which basically means she's getting kicked from the TV show and the group. Because of this, she's pushing herself real hard with rehearsals and extra photo shoots, so much so that she complains on her blog that her body is wearing down. The hosts see this and think they're very clever and decide to pull her onto the show before her big song debut and have her undergo a medical exam where they shove a camera down her throat to make sure she's healthy, where they show her butt from the inside, and I definitely can't show it, but look at this poor girl's face. It's just such a terribly tough watch. Like, she looks absolutely distraught. But after all that, one of the most degrading and humiliating things I've seen, she went on to make over 10,000 sales, and her song was listed in the top 40 of 100 of the group's history. It's a pretty beautiful comeback story, to be honest, compared to how she started out. She'd end up crying at fan meets because no one lined up to meet her, and she never got chosen for group songs. But thankfully it all worked out in the end. A few years later, she got moved to another group where she ended up being the star member, and as of today, she's happily married, so it really is a happy ending. But I have no idea how no one complained about this. Forcing her to do the medical examination on TV was way too far. But in a way, I think this was the director giving her a shot at continuing her dream of becoming an idol. Maybe there was a less harsh way to do it. I really think the medical examination was not needed, but she found her footing after a great hardship, and I think above all else, that's pretty admirable. The show ended in 2019 after having a run from 2008. Due to a mix of changes in the company and a stalking and harassment case where two members from a sister group were assaulted outside their apartment. The agency allegedly tried to cover it up and downplay it, which led to issues arising in the idols you can meet format altogether, which is sort of what the TV show was built off. But this event caused the whole company to change how it operated. They pushed for more safety, and they saw that AKBingo was way too outdated and too exploitative, so it ended up getting cancelled. I can't say for sure if the whole show was bad, as I literally opened episodes at random, but I got pretty crazy stuff consistently, so above all else, it sure is strange. But the one thing that comes to mind whenever I'm watching these game shows is it always leaves me wondering, what's the point? I mean, I see these clips every few weeks of these cockroach battle or whatever, but what are they actually competing for? I mean, in every episode, what if you lose? Or what if you win? Well, over here, you usually win a car or tons of money or something. So what are these people competing in such horrific games for? Well, they're actually competing for nothing. Because to my horror when researching this video, these aren't really game shows at all. As I mentioned earlier, these are usually from variety TV programs, which are more like comedy sets than anything else. The competitors are comedians, idols, and celebrities whose purpose is to suffer for the audience's entertainment. Basically, your prize for winning is not losing, because to lose means an embarrassing punishment. Let's take Hanae no Tobira for example, the variety show featuring our Grasshopper friends from earlier. Beyond the game show part, it's a sketch show for comedians to build up their careers. They compete in dumb games for a laugh, which is why these clips go so viral and are so funny. It's because they're trying to be. These people are comedians. So when they throw the scooter down in victory, the bit is that they're treating these dumb games like it's the Olympics. And for AKBingo, I mean, I'm not gonna insult your intelligence, it's obviously an idol show meant to promote their idols, but compared to the other variety shows, in a sense, the idols are actually competing for something. Popularity. See, the idols at AKBingo are actually paid based on how much merch they sell, how many records they sell, etc, etc. The base pay for the idols on these shows isn't even enough for rent near the headquarters, and so unpopular idols like Megumi spent the start of their careers taking 2-hour train rides every day to the HQ. Which is true, by the way. The only reason she was able to keep being an idol was because her parents supported her and paid for an apartment for her. On AKBingo, if you aren't selling anything, you aren't making diddly. So despite not having a prize for winning, there was certainly something to compete for every episode. Favor with the viewers. When you realize this, the games of choice and rampant sex appeal begin to make more sense. And it's probably also why AKBingo doesn't air today. This is Tore, a game show more similar to Takeshi's Castle. It was actually called DERO before, and had a different theme. But what we know today is this Indiana Jones style escape room show. The biggest clip is this. Contestants are wrapped up like mummies while answering questions. And if they don't answer them fast enough, they're wrapped up from head to toe and lose the game. People joke in the comments that this had to have been designed by some freaky ad director with a very specific niche interest. I mean, who comes up with this and then greenlights it? I respect the gall to turn your freaky interest into a game show, to be honest. It's kind of funny. It's also especially telling when the rest of the show is somewhat normal. The show plays on this sort of claustrophobic fear. DERO had these quicksand obstacles, and a lot of crawling through vents and stuff on a time limit. It's fun, but I definitely see why Takeshi's Castle was the one to take off and not this. I really think DERO was way more crazy. It had them in these Squid Game-ass situations, and watching them try to figure out these escape rooms is a pretty nice time waster. You can find more episodes on YouTube and playlists if you just search the names of the shows. You might think that these shows were super unsafe or something, but they actually had pretty good safety standards, and used breathable materials for the wrapping punishments. So overall, they were super safe. Which unfortunately can't be said for Unbeatable Banzuke.
落ち着いている専業主婦は大抵のことはクリアできる。お、うまい。さあこのまま越えられるか。おっと奥さんプロペラを越えてください。奥さんプロペラを越えました。そして上下する縄格子落ち着いております。落ち着いた。突然終わりました。
I already featured this one in my other video on Japanese TV in general, so if you want to check that out after this, go for it. But Unbeatable Banzuke, if you look closely, just had contestants doing the most outrageous things with almost no padding down. The show ended abruptly in 2002 after 2 contestants broke their backs on a giant rolling ball obstacle during an episode. The amount of injuries sustained on the show, and then this final backbreaker, led the police to question the directors and the company, which after some strict safety reviews, caused the show to be cancelled, replaced by safer things like Ninja Warrior. There's also Denpa Shonen, which had several shows just torturing contestants with ridiculous challenges. Like the Africa Hitchhike, where they sent 2 comedians on a hitchhike from the bottom to the top of Africa with literally no help. These 2 would be starving, and the cameraman would just be filming them like it was a National Geographic documentary, and intervening was forbidden. There's also Nasubi, who was forced to live in an apartment for years, living only off whatever he could win on the lottery. So if you want to know more about how evil Denpa Shonen was, I go way more in depth in my other video, so I recommend watching that one after this. But this brings us to one of the longest running sources of Japan's strangest TV moments in history, Gaki no Tsukai. This show has been on air since 1989, which is over 35 years now. And it's another comedy variety show with the hosts Hitoshi Matsumoto and Masatoshi Hamada play stupid games that, if they lose, lead to Batsu games, which means punishment games. If you're wondering what's different about Gaki no Tsukai and Hanae no Tobira, well, only one of them is still airing. This show started as a late night slot on Nippon TV and grew into a pretty big deal. Since it's a variety show, they have tons of different stuff going on. So when researching, I got flashbanged into what seems to be the Electric Chair Championship. Two comedians are trying to trick each other into sitting on an electric chair. One person goes into another room while the other chooses a chair that will shock them with electricity if they sit in it. It seems unfair because there are 12 numbers, so how would you ever guess where the other guy will sit? Well, the higher the number of the chair, the more points you get, so you'd be more inclined to sit on the higher end than the lower end, meaning anything 5 and below is pretty worthless at the start. And once you've sat on a chair, that chair can't be sat on again and is removed from the circle. So what you have is two idiots trying to trick each other, exclaiming things like, "I will sit on this one," before the game even starts, as some sort of mental trick. Like, will he really sit in this one? Should I put the shock on it or the one next to it? Or, you know, it's kind of funny. It's pretty amusing, and I literally watched the entire first round, and I wish I could watch more if I could just figure out where to find the full episode. But I'm almost certain this bit is on the newer side since I couldn't find any mirrors of it online.
全然予想できてない。
僕は12点ここで取ります。いいえ、ダメです。危ない。
ダメってことはない。
いや、危ないって。いや、大丈夫です。はい、押しますよ。いや、劇団さん。
Gaki no Tsukai's most famous game, or corner, my research tells me they're called corners, so I'll just call them that from now, is Silent Library. Contestants sit in a fake library setting, draw cards like Russian roulette, and if you pull the skull card, you endure a bizarre punishment while trying to stay completely silent in this library. I feel like it could be something out of Impractical Jokers, which I'd argue is funnier than this, because the fact that it's a mock library isn't as fun as Impractical Jokers, where it's just real people they're messing with. But despite not sitting well with my taste, this corner was a massive success. Punishments include stupid stuff like these brutal nose hair pulls with pliers. Getting smacked in the face with frozen fish, and eating weird, disgusting mystery food items that are usually like rotten food. It is a little amusing to see them freak out and trying to stay silent whenever someone gets the skull card, but I still feel like Impractical Jokers is better. The show did go on to inspire an MTV version of the game though, which had the same name. They'd have on celebrities and WWE superstars and stuff, but the original Japanese version feels way meaner than the 2009 MTV one, because it feels like the comedians are just genuinely suffering. There's clips of grown men crying getting tortured while trying not to disturb the studying students in the library. It's just too good. I feel like what Gaki no Tsukai has going for it are its elements of try not to make a noise. For example, look at its annual no laughing punishment games. Massive 24 hours New Year Eve specials where the entire cast must survive everyday situations in different places without laughing at all. What's so funny about this is watching how desperate they are to not laugh. I mean, it's so much funnier knowing you aren't supposed to laugh that I caught myself trying to hold it in with them numerous times. Just watching them get smacked so damn hard on the butt is so funny.
ちょっと違うねん違うねん違うねんほらこれダメです田中ちょっとやめてくださいよもう嫌やね痛いもう痛い
And these hard gay hurdles in the school episode was so stupid, man, I can't. They have these traps set up everywhere, usually ridiculous scenarios playing out around them that they get caught up in and try not to laugh about. Or they have celebrity cameos coming in with absurd costumes. Or like when they're trying to sleep at night and the speaker's just spamming jokes. It's so damn cruel but funny. Eventually, they survive the full 24 hours without calling it quits and are allowed to go home. I highly recommend these episodes. They have one in a hospital, a prison cell, a high school, a hot spring. If you can find these, I recommend them. Gaki no Tsuka's other segments are funny too. Like this Marshmallow rubber band game where the hosts have their heads strapped with rubber bands while they try and reach and eat some marshmallows. I also noticed while researching that Ellen stole this idea, so there's that, I guess. I'm also a fan of whatever this wall of boxes was, where our hosts are up top and pick numbers at random. The numbers equate to something that will attack your stack of boxes, and whoever is still up at the end wins. It's pretty amusing. It just seems like there's always some different shit going down that I find myself completely lost. I mean, would you think that the show where they're doing this electric shock game would end up somewhere like the P-onus machine, where a mechanical arm smacks contestants so hard in their boingo-oingos that they double over in pain? If you get a question wrong, this arm smacks you so damn hard, it's pretty ruthless. And these dudes are in so much pain, while the hosts and staff are just off-screen dying laughing. It's real clear to me why Gaki no Sky is still airing and the shows around it aren't. They influence so much of what we call weird Japanese TV. I mean, we saw it today with AKBingo. They just said, hey, what about Gaki no Tsukai, but with our idol group? There are tons of programs like that, all influenced by Gaki no Tsukai. The format of endure ridiculous punishments or lose became a staple in Japanese game shows because of Gaki no Tsukai. But despite this, Gaki no Tsukai's punishments are nothing compared to the endurance.
The Japanese call it a game show, but it's more like a mobile torture chamber, and it certainly adds up to some of the weirdest television in the world.
Gaman, or The Endurance, is literally that. An endurance game show featuring university students from Japan who travel around the world with only one goal: to endure. Contestants are placed in uncomfortable, painful, and psychologically stressful situations to see how long they can survive. Like these guys, who've been tasked with holding ice up with their feet while cold water is sprayed on them. It's one of those things where sometimes you want to look away, but you actually sort of can't. It's not even like a game show, to be honest, but more like a display of torture for mine and your entertainment. And it's what the game director thinks too. When asked if he thought his show was like torture, he just said, yeah, seems that way. At this point, you may be wondering, why? I mean, it looks like torture. He says it's torture, so where's the game show? Well, the director said that the point of the endurance was that these days people were saying that young students, or the young generation, didn't have any guts. So he said, let me make Gaman and show you that it's not the case. He said Gaman is proof that the youth aren't a bunch of softies. So what do you get for putting up with all this and not being a softie? Well, first place is a week's holiday for 2 in America. I mean, it's not that bad, but it wouldn't exactly motivate me to get pulled along on my butt cheeks through gravel and mud. I think the point of Gaman is a less the prize, and more so to prove to yourself that you can do it. But then it got me thinking, because the boss might be damn evil too. Because if you want to work as staff in his company, he makes you undergo the Gaman game to prove your loyalty. He really has his employees getting pulled along by their butt cheeks just to get hired. Nah man, this guy gotta go. Gaman would have you travel around the world to places like Egypt and Spain in order to continue the torture there. In Egypt, they superheated the sand, because obviously the sand in Egypt wasn't hot enough. Then they made them handstand upside down against this metal thing, which is gonna be absorbing heat. Then they throw the superheated sand on them. I mean, is there no end to this? It's just ridiculous. Gaman had its fair share of controversy, with critics saying it exploited the youth for shock value. The show also actually aired in the UK, and a lot of World War II veterans complained that the show featured way too realistic wartime torture and prison abuse, calling it insensitive. But whatever it was, it didn't matter, because in 1988, Gaman fizzled off air as viewers just grew tired of it, and the variety show content was just way more stimulating. I feel like a fair criticism for Gaman is how stale it gets after one episode. It just becomes sorta grim to watch them suffer so much for like, maybe a 1-week holiday. Honestly, maybe those veterans were right. Watching this show for more than 2 episodes is like wartime torture. I like looking back through the telescope of time to see a world of entertainment that seemed to just not give a fuck. And Japan does a great job of that. As messed up as some of these shows were, there's something special about the lacking safety standards and ruthless directors. It's obviously not nice, but it is a bygone era, so I think looking back at something that we'll never see again with a level of respect or intrigue isn't the end of the world. But if there's anything to respect about these shows, it's that we couldn't have the safety standards of today without the mistakes of the past. So I'm glad we got these shows rather than we didn't. I'm going to be looking at even more weird and disturbing game shows from Japan over in my newsletter. So if you made it this far in the video, I really think you'll have as much fun reading it as I am writing it. I'll leave the link below. I'm gonna post once a week about the interesting and weird niche stuff I find while researching these videos. So if you want more disturbing Japan, definitely enter in your email to lostin2007.com and I'll send over the goodies once a week. Anyway, if there's a show you think I missed, let me know below. Because as I said at the start of this video, there's always something weirder. But before we end, I gotta know your answer on which game show you would play for a chance to win $10,000. Honestly, these all seem pretty bad. Just when I think about choosing one, I realize how much it would suck. Like, I was so certain about the Grasshopper scooter, but to be honest, I'm way too scared of the garlic breath, so now I really don't know. But I'm definitely not going anywhere near Gaman. I'm gonna think about my answer some more, and I'll leave it in the pinned comment so I don't influence you here. Let me know what you picked. I read every comment, so I look forward to it. Don't forget my newsletter, and thanks for watching.